Aloha and welcome to This Is Now. First today, only a few hours after the Supreme Court allowed a controversial Texas immigration law to go into effect, a federal appeals court has blocked it.
Yeah, the law gives state law enforcement the authority to arrest people they suspect of entering the country illegally. Natalie Brand has the latest developments.
Texas law enforcement for now cannot detain migrants suspected of entering the country illegally after an appeals court paused a new state law while it hears arguments on the matter today.
Texas has decided that we are at the epicenter of this crisis. We are on the front line. And we are going to do something about it.
Texas Senate Bill 4 would not only allow state authorities to make arrests, but it could allow state judges to issue deportation orders.
This is the first time, it seems to me, that a state has claimed that they have the right to remove illegal aliens.
Sheriff Martin Cuellar of Webb County, Texas, says he has concerns.
We're not immigration officers, and we have to get trained to make sure that we are following the rule of the law.
But Texas Governor Greg Abbott met with a group of sheriffs who praised the bill.
We will keep fighting, regardless of what happens in the court, because we all have a collective responsibility, and that's to maintain the safety and security of our residents and our state and our sovereignty.
Attorney Kathleen Bush Joseph with the Migration Policy Institute says she's worried about confusion on the ground and the legal precedent it could set.
Talk about the implications of this law if it were to go into effect.
For over a century, the Supreme Court has upheld the principle that the federal government sets immigration policy.
While the fight plays out in the courts, Mexico's government has already said it will not accept under any circumstances people deported by the state of Texas. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Israel is planning to send a team to D.C. for Rafah discussions as fallout continues over a raid of Al-Shifa Hospital. Here's the latest.
Disagreements over Israeli plans for an attack on the city of Rafah in southern Gaza driving a wedge in U.S.-Israel relations right now. President Biden making very clear he opposes any Israeli large-scale ground operation there. But Prime Minister Netanyahu, speaking earlier today, says he has already approved a plan for an assault on Rafah, which he says is necessary to destroy the 4 Hamas battalions that are still hiding in the city. He says this is a 2-phase plan. The first phase to evacuate at least some of those million-plus civilians sheltering in Rafah, and the second phase, an attack itself. It's notable, though, Netanyahu is saying it will take some time before that plan can be put into effect. He has also agreed to send a senior delegation to Washington to at least hear out American concerns about an attack on Rafah. That is an indication that while he says he is determined to go in, he may be prepared to wait at least for a little while. 2 U.S. officials also telling NBC News some of the details of that phone call between Biden and Netanyahu on Monday, the first conversation between the 2 leaders in more than a month. Those officials say the conversation was intense but constructive. They say Netanyahu raised that explosive speech by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, where he called for early elections in Israel, saying Netanyahu at this point is an obstacle to peace. President Biden trying to reassure the Israeli leader on that phone call that the White House, at least, is not trying to push him from power. Raf Sanchez, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
On Hawaii Island, a fire caused an estimated $100,000 worth of damage to Pele's Kitchen in Pahoa. It started around 8:30 p.m. last night. Crews were able to contain the fire in an attached storage area of the restaurant. No injuries were reported, and an investigation into the cause is ongoing. And on Kauai's South Shore, police have charged 49-year-old Jason Mearns with animal cruelty and assault for allegedly strangling a man's dog by lifting it up off the ground by its chain. And when the man confronted him, police say Mearns left him with scrapes and bruises. He's being held on $20,000 bail. And the fight over pakalolo here in Hawaii continues. The legalization effort has gone further at the state capitol than ever before. Jolani Martinez has reaction on the latest vote and what's next.
The House Committee for Commerce and Consumer Protection passed the bill legalizing recreational cannabis, but it still faces several more hurdles, and some don't think it will make it.
Any other members voting no? Sorry.
In a 3-7 vote, Senate Bill 3335 moves on with amendments, including an agreement to let cannabis sellers form labor unions. Lawmakers heard hours of testimony.
I feel like everyone should have access to clean, tested cannabis and not have to be subject to going to the illicit market.
We need more hope, not dope. Let's fix the problems that we have now before we do anything else.
Both sides are passionate. Both think the science is on their side. Both think the other is misguided.
It's disappointing when people don't listen to data or facts. I'm glad that the representatives are, and they're taking that into consideration and taking into consideration the thoughts of the constituents that are in support.
Among the critics, former Governor Linda Lingle, who testified for the first time since she was in office 14 years ago. Besides public health, she's worried about money.
As you know, because of the Maui fires, we're facing serious budget issues in the state government, and this is just going to make that situation worse.
A state-sponsored working group found that legalizing marijuana would bring in $34 to $53 million in tax revenue every year. But the state would have to spend millions setting up the framework for dispensaries and enforcement.
It's a very complicated bill, a lot of new positions attached to it, and the money is just not there right now.
In the end, it comes down to votes. Supporters are optimistic.
There's hope because it's the furthest it's ever gone, and we're going to keep fighting, and we can't stop and we won't stop.
But the odds may not be in their favor. When the House passed the bill's second reading last week, 22 of the 51 members voted no.
And that's a great indicator that the bill's going to die, because at least 10 of those representatives in the Finance Committee already voted no.
If passed in the Finance Committee, it goes back to the full House. After that, differences have to be negotiated with the Senate. Jolani Martinez, Hawaii News Now.
City leaders are a step closer to getting pay raises after the Salary Commission voted unanimously to recommend the increases. Eddie Dowd has the numbers.
Well, this current proposal would give dozens of city officials about a 3.6% raise. Now, before the vote today, the mayor sent a letter to the Salary Commission saying he does not support a raise for himself or his executive branch. The commission says the current proposals are based on a salary study done to see what the market rates are for top city positions. The raises include the Honolulu City Council, who received a 64% raise back in June. The controversy over the last raise led to 3 of the 9 city council members turning it down. Under the current proposal by the Salary Commission, the city council salary would go from $113,000 to $116,000. It also includes bumps for the chair of the city council, mayor, police and fire chief, and other top officials. Some commissioners said this is all about retaining skilled people, and the raises overall only total around $300,000 in extra costs when compared to the entire city budget. That's more than $3 billion.
We have a system-wide issue for this city, the recruitment and the retention.
While I do feel a little conflicted about recommending a raise for those most senior roles, I think for the integrity of a structure and a consistency and a framework, I think it does make sense.
In the mayor's letter to the commission, he signaled that he would not accept raises if the commission decides to recommend them. It's also being opposed by at least 2 city council members.
Forcing a hearing on any of their recommendations that has to be heard by the whole city council.
Now, the biggest raise would be for the medical examiner, about a 10% raise with a total salary of about $400,000. The commission is set to meet in April to have a final vote on the matter. Reporting in Honolulu, Eddie Dowd, Hawaii News Now.
The Hawaii Hotel and Restaurant Show is today and tomorrow at the Blaisdell Center. Casey Lund went to check out what's new in the industry.
Aloha from the 2024 Hawaii Hotel and Restaurant Show. We're here at Nyman Ranch booth as well as Sierra Meat and Seafood. Good morning and thank you for being with us today. I'm here with Ellie Gadent. We also have Tom Kwan from Sierra Meat and Seafood. Ellie, I start with you. Tell us a little bit about Nyman Ranch. You folks are originally based out of Iowa, but it's grown into a community of farmers, right?
Yes, we're a community, 600 independent family farmers across the U.S. We're in about 20 states.
And we raise all of our hogs, cattle, and lamb all naturally, low stress environments, never ever antibiotics, and that leads to us having the finest tasting meat, really superior quality.
Yeah, and I want to ask you a little bit more about that. Is that really goes a long way when it comes to the quality of meat? What kind of differences will just the average consumer taste, and for food buyers, restaurants and things, what can they kind of showcase when they choose your folks' meat?
Yes, with the Nyman Ranch, the more marbling in the meat, and that's because of the raising practices, the outdoor deep bedding exercise with the marbling throughout the meat. And then with that just brings that more robust flavor with all Nyman Ranch, and that's in the pork, beef, and lamb. And
are you folks, can you talk to about where people might be able to taste some of your products in Hawaii already, or are you kind of showcasing what you have for buyers?
We're showcasing here what we have on Oahu today, but we're also around Maui, and then with our distributors, Sierra Meat and Seafood, hoping, of course, to get into more restaurants near you.
Very good, excellent. And Tom Kwan is with us from Sierra Meat and Seafood. Tom, I want to ask you a little bit about where you guys can be seen and found in Hawaii. On Maui as well?
On Maui, on the Big Island, on Oahu, all over, from restaurants to at the airport, as well as some of the hotels, etc.
Yeah, so you pulled something out here that you folks are especially proud of. Why don't we come over here and talk a little bit about, oh my gosh, I know Wagyu, that looks like a nice
So
cut
this
of
is
beef.
our Durham Ranch Wagyu. We grow it ourselves in Texas. And I think we don't have to say anything about it. Look at the marbling on that. And that's the American Wagyu.
When you're preparing something like this, I've been to Japan, and I mean, little salt, little pepper. Other than that, you really don't need anything else,
You want the
right?
meat to shine.
Yeah,
you want to taste that meat. You don't want to have 6 different sauces on it, 6 different flavors competing with the meat. Don't overcook it. If you overcook it, all that wonderful fat is going to disappear. So you want to just have it, just so it's just umptious.
Very good. That looks delicious. Okay, now we did want to showcase. We have some of the pulled pork. This is again from Nyman Ranch. We got 3 of these. Look at these. It's perfect. Ellie, we have one. Shall we try?
I got it.
Oh, excellent. And Tom, we've got a little street taco we made impromptu here. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you guys. Oh, delicious. Delicious. All right. The 2024 Hawaii Hotel and Restaurant Show happening right here today and tomorrow. Now, it is industry only. That means servers, cooks, anybody that works in the industry, hotels and restaurants can come. You just need to register. You can do that online at hawaiinewsnow.com. So much cool stuff to check out and see. Aloha.
Leave it to Casey Lund to make us hungry right around lunchtime, right? Well, joining us here in the Hawaii News Now Digital Center is Sergeant Chris Kim for our weekly crime roundup segment. Chris, tell us about the cases you got today.
Yeah, the first case is the attempted murder in the second degree, which happened on Thursday, March 14, 2024 at about 6:15 a.m. The victim was driving a black sports utility vehicle when he pulled into the parking lot of a shopping center located at 89-102 Farrington Highway. A male driving a white BMW 3 Series sedan then blocked the victim's path, stepped out of his vehicle, then shot the victim and fled. The victim was able to drive away but crashed a short time later. So now we're asking for the public if they know anything about this case or this white BMW over on the west side. Please go ahead and let us know. We've managed to receive some tips so far, but we still need the public's help in helping us to solve this case.
And Chris, also, you folks just put out the alert for this case yesterday, I believe, right? It's a fairly recent one?
Fairly recent case. So this case actually happened a few days ago, but we did push out a media release, and since then we've actually managed to receive a bunch of tips. There's some chatter out there happening on the west side, and people are mentioning tips about this white BMW, but we still need the public's help.
Did the victim say if they knew the suspect at all?
They do not know each other. Yeah.
Okay. And you have another one for us out of Pearl Ridge.
Yeah, as far as the next case on Sunday, February 4, 2024, at about 6:25 p.m., this male is captured in video surveillance entering a closed storage area on the Pearl Ridge Center and then taking property. The video isn't the greatest, but we're kind of using this as a learning tool for 2 reasons. One, first and foremost, businesses, clean your cameras. Second one is, secure your items. These oftentimes are crimes of opportunity. People are kind of looking around, scoping out the place, and if they see something that they can take, they're going to do it. So once again, businesses, do your due diligence in securing your items so you don't become a victim of theft.
All right, and one more.
As far as the last case on Sunday, March 3rd, 2024, about 4:30 a.m., These two females broke into the complainant's room over at 2615 South King Street, then took property. Both females are being described as unknown. We do have great video of them. All three cases we talked about can be seen over at the www.honolupd.org website, bottom left-hand corner under wanted persons, as well as other cases that we need the community's help in solving.
Now, Chris, for this case, is this an office building or a hotel, or what kind of building is this?
To my understanding, it's that dorm room over on Manoa, the Manoa area, right at the
student
base.
housing area.
Yeah, the student housing.
Got it. Okay. Well, Chris Kim, thank you so much for those details. Again, if you know anything in these cases, you can always call Crime Stoppers at 955-8300, or of course use the P3 Tips mobile app. Your tips are a great help to our partners here in the law enforcement community to help catch these criminals. Let's end things live outside. This is a look at Kaka'ako Waterfront Park. Jabsam right over there. A beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Stay with us. After this short break, we'll have more news and local weather.
Now look at this. This is pretty good. The drought monitor shows the dry areas, but it also shows all windward areas are drought-free, and it's even drought-free for the Kona coast. But look at this. They're suffering from level 1 moderate drought, level 2 severe drought around Mauna Kea and back into the South Kohala area. They've got moderate drought for South and West Maui. Those are the driest areas anywhere in the state. Although it looks like out towards West Kauai, out towards Kekaha, Hanapepe, they got some moderate drought as well. So this is what we're looking at for Hawaii Island. Fairly dry for the Kona side for the next several days. Maybe a pop-up shower late in the afternoon, typical stuff. And for the Hilo side, there's going to be an extended run of passing showers. Again, we're not expecting a washout, although over the weekend into early next week, that's when a disturbance could come in and bring in some heavy rain. But until then, if anything, just a few light passing showers up and down the Hamakua coast back into Puna and Pahoa. Look at Kalalau Valley, always so beautiful, right? Mahalo to Barney for that shot. So Lihue is not going to see much rain, maybe a few showers Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday. And then for Kahului, they might see a spillover, but most of the rain for Maui will favor the stretch from Paia all the way back to Keanai and then back into Kaupo as well. So that's a good run of weather, kind of no matter where you are.
Thank you so much, Guy. The Biden administration and the EPA have announced new rules today for automakers, tightening emission restrictions to fight climate change. Bradley Blackburn has details on the new roadmap for the single largest source of carbon pollution in the country.
Global temperatures shattered heat records last year, and the United Nations says 2024 will likely be even hotter.
Every fraction of a degree of global heating impacts the future of life on Earth.
The UN's weather agency says 2023 delivered chart-busting increases in greenhouse gases and land and water temperatures, along with melting glaciers and shrinking sea ice.
This annual report shows that the climate crisis is the defining challenge that humanity faces.
The UN climate chief says fossil fuel pollution is sending climate chaos off the charts and warns changes are speeding up. Scientists say the world's average near-surface temperature last year was 1.45 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, critically close to the 1.5-degree threshold countries agreed to avoid passing in the 2015 Paris Climate Accords.
There's still time to throw out a lifeline to people and planet. But leaders must step up and act now.
Climate experts hope nations around the world will answer the distress call with precise plans for change. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
And speaking of climate change, spring is here, and that means the end to the warmest winter on record. In a new report, the United Nations Weather Agency is sounding a red alert about global warming. Here's Tina Kraus with that story.
Today we're setting new pollution standards.
The Biden administration is putting the pedal to the metal in its drive to make Americans' cars greener.
We're cleaning our air, we're protecting public health, and we're creating good-paying American jobs.
New regulations require automakers to cut emissions across their entire fleet of new light-duty cars and trucks, starting with model year 2027.
We understand that consumer choice is paramount.
The EPA says the changes will help drivers use less fuel and lower maintenance costs, an estimated $6,000 in savings over the lifetime of a new vehicle. They expect $13 billion in public health benefits from cleaner air and a 7 billion ton reduction in carbon pollution.
Over time, this rule is actually going to eliminate carbon pollution that is more than what we actually emit across the country in a single year.
An earlier version of the rules was even stricter, but the EPA tapped the brakes to give automakers more time to shift to electric vehicles. Right now, less than 10% of new vehicles sold in the U.S. are electric. And while EV sales are growing by double digits, the pace has slowed.
In order to get to a much more ambitious level of sales, a lot has to change. We have to invest in charging infrastructure.
On day one, I will terminate crooked Joe Biden's insane electric vehicle mandate.
In a speech Saturday, former President Trump promised to reverse the new regulations if elected. It's an open question whether the plan passes go after November. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
And finally, as plans to see the solar eclipse next month are being made across the path of totality, some with vision loss are making their own plans. Erikita Koss tells us how one woman plans to hear the eclipse.
This would be more like, 207 as we move toward 320.
Kiki Smith has been educating herself for the past several months.
Rochester has this top dot here.
Here, she's using her fingertips to learn. But come April 8th, she'll be using her ears. Kiki lost her eyesight over time, stemming from a diagnosis in second grade. Her condition, uveitis, tearing down the tissue in her eye wall over the course of her lifetime.
Degenerative, I prefer to explain.
Not a death sentence, she says, but childhood dreams of becoming an astronomer seemed out of the picture.
That high pitch is it's hard to do this when you're blind.
That's the sonar technology she plans on using to hear the eclipse in real time. Smith will be sharing this with others as part of an accessibility event at Genesee Valley Park next month. A party she's helping to host along with other community organizers. The technology, exactly what it sounds like.
As it gets darker, incrementally by the minute, those tones will decrease.
Now that brief moment of darkness is something Kiki's been preparing for all year. She recalls feeling left out during the partial eclipse in 2017.
As everybody else was talking about what they were seeing and all the places they were going with their friends.
But now she's sharing with others who may have also felt left out, living her dream of bringing inclusivity and empowerment to the neighborhood.
Really step back and realize how little we are in the grand scheme of things, and how each of the folks that we bring into our days matter just as much.
Some amazing technology there being used for good in a case like this. Yeah. We also want to give you a programming note. Coming up at 1 o'clock, we will be streaming live a Honolulu Police press conference regarding an officer-involved investigation. HPD has not told us exactly what this press conference will be about, but we will be streaming that right here from the Hawaii News Now Digital Center on Facebook and your digital platforms again at 1 o'clock. Let's end today with a live look outside over sunny Kaka'ako.
Aloha.